The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Please go ahead.
Please start.
A very good evening to one and all. Namaskar. I'm delighted to welcome you all on the BIRAC's 9th Foundation Day celebrations this evening. The Biotechnology in Research Assistance Council, a public sector undertaking working in the aegis of the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, came into being in the year 2012 with a vision to serve as an interface agency to strengthen and empower the emerging biotech enterprise to undertake strategic research and innovation to address the nationally relevant product development needs. Over these past 9 years, BIRAC has had an impactful and fulfilling run that actually energized the biotech innovation ecosystem and created capacities across the country. Today is a day to cherish all that the organization has achieved. With these words, I would now invite Ms. Anju Bhalla, Joint Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, and Managing Director, BIRAC, for her welcome address. Over to you.
Thank you, Hafsa. A very good evening to everyone on this call, and a very warm welcome as well, especially to Dr. Renu Swaroop, who has been a part of BIRAC when BIRAC was just an idea. She has nurtured it through these 9 years, and it has grown to be the entity that we all love today and actually feel in awe of sometimes of what it has managed to achieve in these 9 years. A very warm welcome also to Dr. Vinod Bauri, who will be delivering the Foundation Day lecture today. I warmly welcome all our partners, stakeholders, grantees, funding partners, all the innovators and the entrepreneurs that have been a part of the BIRAC journey and who actually give us a reason to do all the hard work that we all do, especially in the last 1 year, which has thrown up not only challenges, but also many opportunities and shown us our own strength. BIRAC is indeed a very unique organization, and 9 years is not very long in the life of any institution. If these 9 years are anything to go by, we can really look forward to many, many years of great achievements, successes, and we will hopefully keep adding to our success stories in the years to come. A very warm welcome to all of you again, and in joining us in this celebration, I also congratulate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was very encouraging, and we look forward to such encouragement and appreciation. Moving ahead, we would now present to you an audio visual that showcases BIRAC's evolution from the concept to reality over these years. We'd have the video, please. Thank you. I'm sure that you would have felt a sense of achievement, pride, and nostalgia after seeing that slideshow. Moving forward, it gives me immense pleasure to now invite Dr. Renu Swaroop, Secretary, Department of Biotechnology and Chairperson, BIRAC, to talk to us about BIRAC's inspiring story. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Hafsa. And first of all, congratulations to everyone on this 9th Foundation Day. Congratulations, first of all, to my team at BIRAC. I think this is the first time today that the team is not meeting physically. And at least last year, we had our own BIRAC team meeting physically. This year, we are not being able to do that as well. And all our partners, all our stakeholders, connecting with you virtually, but at least we have that opportunity to be able to connect. So first of all, my congratulations to each of you. And yes, it is a very, very happy moment for us. It's a happy day for us that we are celebrating the 9th Foundation Day for BIRAC. As you saw in the film that was shown right now, the journey of BIRAC as it began in 2012, and what they showed in this audio-visual clip was even the idea of BIRAC and how it has reached to where we are today. While it's wonderful to see this achievement that we're all talking about. And on birthdays like this, it's always wonderful to go back and think of the wonderful times that we've had, and how the organization, how this whole ecosystem has grown brick by brick. Each of the components that you have seen in this audiovisual have been bricks which have been put in to make, in fact, I would say initially, the foundation strong. And it's now that the foundation is becoming strong, it's now important for us to build on this foundation so that we can reach the great heights that we are hoping to reach. I was going through the themes of all the various foundation days and innovator meet that we've had through all these years. And clearly, there was a very important thread that went through all of them. And for many of you, in fact, I'd like to read out the first theme that we had for our foundation day. The first foundation day was empowering and enabling the biotech innovation ecosystem for affordable product development. So BIRAC began with a very important mandate, and that was how do we empower and enable? And all these years, if you see, the focus has been on and how do you enable the ecosystem to move forward? And then, of course, each year we built upon by promoting partnerships, scaling new heights, taking our innovations through the big leap, and each of them building global partnerships, each of them added on to what the theme was. And last year I was looking at it, it was scaling biotech innovations for global impact. And that's when we had just concluded the Global Bio India, and we did realize that there was really an opportunity and a space for us to be there. Now, this journey, while we do appreciate what has happened in all these years, and I have to, before I move forward, place on record deep appreciation for the leadership that we've got with the founder, Dr. Bhan, then Dr. Vijay Raghavan, giving us a continuous leadership to take this ahead. But the more than 700 experts, in fact, that number would have gone to much larger now, who have been a constant part of the BIRAC family as we've moved ahead, who've been our technical mentors, our advisors, who've been part of this system so that we could do a very wonderful due diligence to take an idea to a market enterprise. The startups, the innovators, the institutes, the incubators, our regional center partners, agencies who we've partnered with, both technical, financial, our global partners. I don't think we would have been anywhere where we are today if we did not have this strong partnership. And I think that was the first major learning that came to us, leveraging the strength of partnership. For any successful journey to move forward, it's important to look back and see what are the learnings. Do an introspection to see where were the challenges, what is it that we need to move forward with? Because we have to remember one thing, as I said, this is the beginning of the journey. Our ambitions are very, very large. We started when we got into this whole business of creating a strong enterprise, when the Department of Biotechnology took this decision, a very bold decision, I must say, because at that point of time, I mean, even the thought of having a public-private partnership, giving grants to industries, giving grants to individuals, was something that was not really heard of. So that bold initiative, the department took it on itself to maintain that credibility of that whole system, knowing very well that this is a system which is then going to go two ways. Either it will not work, and if it works, which we were confident it will be a model to be emulated. It gives me great pleasure today when we have different organizations coming and saying, can we replicate this model? Can we work along with BIRAC to take it ahead? And I think today, all of you who have joined us, of course, my BIRAC team, officers within BIRAC, Department of Biotechnology, but all the partners. I'm sure each of you feels that sense of pride. And why do you feel that? Because you've played such an important role in each of the steps that we have taken. We started with something around 20 billion was the size of this industry around that time. And probably we were just about 150, 200 startups at that point of time. And I'm sure if colleagues from ABLE are here, they will give us, because they were our partners since the beginning who kept giving us these numbers. And then this steady growth. It was a very quick moving film, so you couldn't have really got the details of it. In 2016, when the Honorable Prime Minister launched the action plan for the Startup India, I still recall that we were asked to put in our action plans. And for the biotech sector, the action plan that we gave is that by 2020, we'll have 2,000 startups. It seemed a daunting task at that point of time. We were so pleased when we far exceeded that number in 2020. Today, when we had the Global India the report released at the Global Bio India, I was so pleased when I saw numbers nearing 4,500. So clearly, the stakeholders, this space has responded so beautifully to this enabling ecosystem that we put out. Whether it's the startup funds that we provide, right from the ignition or right from the students till the large industry, taking it from idea to product, or it's the mentorship and training that we provide, or it's the feeling of being one connected family, collectively taking on the responsibility to deliver not just for national goals, but for global challenges as well. And I think that is really where we now need to look forward with. We have covered this ground of 9 years. We've built an ecosystem. Where are we now positioned to move forward? So the moment you start looking only at the success without doing this introspection, there is always a fear of complacency setting in. And to this ecosystem, we cannot allow that to happen. It's important for us to see, and I must say at this point of time, I think the key aspect with which BIRAC has been able to achieve what it has is because of one very important, I would say, inherent strength that we've put into the BIRAC ecosystem, and that is to be open and receptive to ideas. I still recall how we built each of the schemes. It's always been because of feedbacks. Each innovative meeting, I was just recalling with some of the panelists before we went live that it was such a wonderful feeling to all sit together. And each innovator meeting or each foundation day, we would have these open interaction sessions and we would just hear everyone out and pick up from there what were some important ideas and then work on them that year to see how do we bring this into the form of a policy or a scheme to take ahead. That's how it started, Biotechnology Ignition Grant. We started BIRAC with SPIRI, which was the first scheme of the PPP taken and modeled around the US SPIRI, and of course, suited to our own requirements, and the BIPP. But at that point of time, we realized that we needed a pipeline to fuel this SPIRI. How do you do that? Young innovators had suddenly started responding to this ecosystem. They were not startups established for many years. They were not companies who we needed to fund. We needed to bring in, and if you look at the BIRAC tagline, it's ignite, innovate, and incubate. So how do you ignite them? You need to ignite them where they are. Students, young students. In fact, the Department of Biotechnology would have what you call the BEST, which was a regional college level or maybe a doctoral level competition of ideas. What do we do with those wonderful selections that we make? Where do we put them in? Who's going to fund them? Whenever we spoke to the angel funds, VC funds, they would only say this, that who's going to mitigate the risk? Who's going to do the technical due diligence for them? And that's where BIRAC came up as a partner. And that's how big started. Today, it's become really big. When I was looking at their recent evaluations, it sort of clearly stood out that we need to do something to expand that. Looking at where are the challenges of our innovators, of our product commercialization. How do we bring in the product commercialization? And then these missions that we set up. The National Biopharma Mission, the INSTEPI, the Grand Challenges, all of them, and the Make in India cell, of course. What we as a country have responded to last year in these COVID times, and I've said it on many occasions, is because we had this robust foundation. Yesterday, I was at the Heroes meeting last night, where we had the heads of all the medical research councils and funding organizations globally. And we were all sharing experiences of what we've done at COVID times. And it was very satisfying for me to see that the response that we put out from India was no less, in fact, at par and even in certain places better than the response that we have seen globally from many other partners. And I think that is what is our strength. That is our strength in terms of being able to respond. We could overcome and fight this challenge. Now, how do we go ahead? What is that challenge that we are going to take forward? We are looking at 150 billion. 150 billion is a huge challenge. But looking at the strength that we have, I'm confident that we will do it. Today, we have more than 100 partners. Globally, we can take this ahead. The challenges are huge for this group. I would now like to say that moving on into the 10th year and maybe many, many more years ahead, let's identify those challenges. Let us identify how do we build each of these and taking it forward, not just as scaling the ecosystem or trying to see how we bring in. I'm so glad that today we are talking about social unmet needs. So what are those global challenges that we need to see? And I think the strength that BIRAC is going to have is working with all of you, working in the same way in which we've been able to build these partnerships, but with one difference. And I'm so happy and thankful, Mr. Bauri, and that's where I will now like to, of course, there will be a formal welcome for you as the Foundation Day lecture, but I have to thank you for bringing in what you're going to speak at the Foundation today, and that's about exponential growth. There's no time now for us to talk about incremental growth. In all these years, when our Honorable Minister was addressing us, he kept saying, wonderful things you're doing, but what have we seen? How is it impacting society? Bring that out. Our Honorable Prime Minister has given us the call of Atmanirbhar Bharat for India, for the world. We cannot do this if we are just going to go with an incremental growth. It has to be exponential. Let's challenge ourselves. Let's challenge the way we work. Let's challenge our model of operations. Let's challenge the ideas that we're putting forward. If we have been able to today put together what we have for the COVID times, I think we can do it for everything else. We do not need a pandemic to challenge us. So in closing, my message to all of you is so very happy that BIRAC has done these 9 wonderful years. Compliments to each of you. And I think everyone in the BIRAC family, and we've got a very large extended family, each of you deserves that compliment and the congratulation. But collectively, let's go with a multiplier effect. Let's go with an exponential growth. And let's also challenge this 150 billion of 2025 that we've put in. Believe me, if we go with this pace next year, when we look at it, we will find that as well an underestimation. And I'm sure you'll work towards revising that target, even if we put it into our biotech strategy. So once again, congratulations to all of you. Thank you all very much for being a part of the BIRAC journey. To my team at BIRAC, Keep up this excellent good work that you're doing. Be challenged always. I saw those core values that you all brought out into the film. That's really what you're bound with. And we will definitely be able to succeed as we move ahead. So thank you very much and congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Sir, we can proceed now. Would you like to invite Mr. Bauri?
I think Hafsa has gone mute.
Sir, sorry, I lost the connection in between. Sir, am I audible right now?
Audible, Hafsa.
Yes.
Proceed, please.
Okay. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it's my absolute privilege to now introduce you to our speaker for this Foundation Day lecture, Mr. Vinod Bauri. Mr. Bauri is a leading intellectual, visionary, entrepreneur, and philanthropist in India. He is the pioneer of industrialization in Northeast India. For over 40 years, he has dedicated himself to the economic and social enhancement of Northeast India. Mr. Bauri has over 40 years of business experience in the area of manufacturing. He is very active in public policy circles. He is a member of the Atal Innovation Mission. He is the founder of the Think India Foundation, which is a premier think tank focused on policy research on areas like innovation, technology, and human capital that impacts India's future. Pleasure to have you, sir, and over to you for your talk.
Dr. Renu Saru, ladies and gentlemen, it's really my pleasure to be here today because one of the things that I've been trying to do is to see that how do we become leaders of the fifth generation industrial revolution that is taking place. And that can only take place if we bring in exponential technology. Next slide, please. If we look at it, just step back and see that if we look at 200 years back, I think today an average common man lives much better than a Maharaja. Now, how has all this happened? You must understand that today economies are based on creation of wealth. Earlier, you could conquer some other country, you could bring imperialism, and you would have some wealth. But today, wealth creation is creation of wealth. And the creation of wealth can only take place by three means. If you bring in innovation, you bring in technology, and you bring in entrepreneurship, this is what actually BIRAC is doing. And then you have, if you do this well, you have a large amount of wealth creation. Next slide, please. The important thing to see here is that, well, when you look at creation of wealth, when you look at any technology, you must try to see that it is exponential. What do you mean by exponential? Any technology which brings down the cost by 10x, which decreases the time 10x, which decreases the use of resources by 10x, that is the technology which can create exponential growth. And there are today a number of technologies which can do this in the world. And I will today talk to you about one technology which biotechnology can adopt to bring in that exponential growth. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is in the field of what I say, food and agriculture. Food and agriculture and biotechnology, precision fermentation. What do we mean by precision biology? Precision biology, if you look at any exponential growth, let's take the case of the car coming and replacing the horses. How did the car come? The car came because there were 4 or 5 technologies which combined. What were these? The combustion engine, tires, steel, and such things which brought in the car. Similarly, if you want precision biology, it is a combination of genetic engineering, synthetic biology, including artificial intelligence. A combination of all this will bring in precision biology. Next slide, please. Now, precision fermentation is precision biology plus fermentation. And you will find that when you do this, next slide, please. This is our study says that over the next 10 years, we will experience a profound disruption in the way we make proteins. And I'm using the word profound. You'll see how it is profound. Next slide, please.
Dr. Bauri, sorry to interrupt, but would request you to please switch on your camera.
I don't know how to. Okay, just a minute, please. Is it on? Ritesh? Ritesh?
No, sir,
No? Ritesh, can you put on the camera for me? No, camera is not coming.
Otherwise, he may lose the network also.
Is it coming? Yes.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
This will not go off.
We can see you, Mr. Bauri, now. We can see you.
So when we talk about protein, let's understand that it is not only just food, it is protein in every sphere. These are some of the companies which have done a lot of work in terms of protein. Next slide, please. The possibilities of protein fermentation are endless. The number of possible proteins is infinite. This is not hyperbole. It is actually happening. Today, the proteins we consume are dedicated by the small subset of plants and animals we domesticated thousands of years back. But the proteins that we will now make, I mean, you can make protein to order. I am seeing even when we are looking at curing COVID, it could be that you have some protein which just cures COVID. It is simply endless. Next slide, please. What would happen is that, well, food will become a software now. From people-led, it will become software-led. From plants and animals, it will become microorganism. From breakdown of food, you'll actually have build-up of food. From centralized hubs of making food, you'll have networks of making food. Next slide, please. If you look at protein, you'll find that insulin, which is a protein, it was extracted from animal pancreas. And you look at what was happening earlier. 10,000 pounds of pancreas could make 1 pound of insulin. Now this was replaced. Next slide, please. Insulin created from yeast, fraction of the cost with far greater functionality. This is what happened. Next slide, please. You will find that the cost of precision fermentation over the last 30 years is exponentially coming down. Next slide, please. Protein, which was earlier the pharmaceutical protein, which is competitive, then it became that enzymes became competitive. Then what happened was the cosmetics and some materials of protein became competitive. Next slide, please. You will find now that protein is becoming competitive even in the sphere of making food. And our analysis is that in the next 10 years, protein made out of precision fermentation would be 10 times cheaper than making protein out of the way we are making protein today. I mean, it is mind-boggling. Next slide, please. When we look at protein, you'll find that, well, if you want to replace protein, when you want to replace milk, what are you really doing? It's only 3.3% of protein fermentation, which will replace the whole milk. Next slide, please. See, when you replace an ingredient with the exact same product, but it is cheaper, the adoption is so rapid. You look at citric acid, you look at protein, you look at insulin, you look at riboflavin, you look at rennet, all this in a very short time, they replaced the protein that you were making from other areas. Next slide, please. What is the result of all this? And this is important and interesting to know that precision fermentation protein is an order of magnitude Next slide, please. This is an analysis of America where it has been found that by 2030, modern protein will supply 70% of the US beef and dairy market, reducing the need of cows by 50%, and 70% will be protein fermentation by 2030. Next slide, please. The effect of all this is that today, food in America, 72% of the production of all this is in 5 states. Next slide, please. This will now be totally decentralized. I mean, each state, each place will be making their own protein fermentation. It will become decentralized. Next slide, please. The implication of there are 5 technologies which we are looking at, which will be exponentially changing things. One is energy. We are working on this energy field, which is bringing in solar energy and wind energy. In the field of transportation, in the field of information, in the field of food. And this is also happening because of a large number of combination of technology. Your cell phone, which you use, which came out in 2007, it could not have come out in 2004 or 2005 because by then many technologies were not there. So today there are a large number of technologies which are there, which if combined can bring in this exponential change into all these areas. Next slide, please. This is the most interesting slide. And in food, if you look at it, today in America, for a family of 4 with 2,000 kilocalories of balanced diet, it costs them about $258 per month. This will, by 2030, this will come down to $52, and by 2035, it is estimated it will come down to $26. And if you look at all the costs combined, I mean, from $1,600, you would have a family in America living at $225. I mean, we can do this in India. I mean, practically we'll be removing poverty if we do it in all these fields. This is the effect of exponential technology. Next slide, please. What are the other implications? The land use. I mean, a vast amount of land use in America, especially because America uses a lot of land for cattle feed and things like that. It will be released. Water will the use of water will come down. Social impact of it. Large amount of implication. Next slide, please. What is the conclusion of all this? I had the privilege of looking at BIRAC. There was recently Dr. Renu Sarupan made a committee to look at BIRAC, and we have recommended that, protein fermentation, precision fermentation should become one of the focus areas of BIRAC, where there is an exponential growth and exponential change that is possible. I, on my own, together with some other people, we are also working with the government of India on seeing that all these exponential technologies, we bring them to India in a very, very big way, very extensively, going everywhere. What can the government do? The government can only see that, well, look, they become the catalyst. They bring in the right policy. They bring in the right opportunity, which is there. So this is the way we are trying to work to see that all these technologies, especially in the field of biotechnology, if we can bring in this technology, would make such a big impact in the whole country. It's a great opportunity before all of you. It's a great satisfaction you'll get out of what you all are doing. And, well, all the best to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for that very enlightening talk. And we are absolutely honored to have you here this evening. Moving ahead, new initiatives have been a regular feature on each of our foundation days, and we look forward to the same each year. I would now invite Dr. Manish Diwan, Head Strategic Partnerships and Entrepreneurship Development BIRAC, to take us through a segment on BIRAC's new initiatives, followed by a panel discussion on the theme Scaling Biotech Innovations for Societal Unmet Needs. Over to you, sir.
With pleasure. Hafsa, thank you so much. And I think what Mr. Bauri told, the new fermentation, precision fermentation, reducing the cost of living, reducing the cost of food from $258 to down to the size of $26, 1/10 reduction by 2035. So such kind of activities can only happen when there's a large-scale technology adoption. And with BIRAC's efforts, we've been bringing new initiatives every year. And as Dr. Sarup mentioned, that BIRAC has been known to be open as well as receptive. We imbibe the requirements of the ecosystem so to help and navigate for its growth. What I'll do is I will bring together a few slides, and those slides I can provide what are the initiatives that we do and we have brought in for the ecosystem in the last 1 year. Can I project my slide deck, Amar, or are you going to do that? Yeah, looks fine. Thank you so much. So BIRAC's Foundation Day has been known to see what are the new initiatives and activities that BIRAC has been able to bring on board for the ecosystem. And what better way to start that with the COVID pandemic on striking all of us, I think the entire ecosystem has responded so very well. The BIRAC support system nurtured 1,500 applications from across startups, entrepreneurs, industries, small and large industries, and this is a glimpse of the activity or the turnout that has happened. The translation of these efforts into diagnostic kits, vaccines, PPE kits, hygiene solutions, patient monitoring solutions, therapeutics, ventilators, all of them have come on board. The BIRAC backend staff had moved from physical to virtual mode. Even screening, selections, post-funding, monitoring, all happened through digital online mode. There were processes put in place, very quick mobilization, funding support, and more than 4 such provisions were created only for COVID. And thankfully, the system has responded, and we can see it in a tangible form, what it has done. Can we go to the next slide, please? We've been able to move and create a robust network of BioNest incubators in the country. We have touched, we just concluded setting up of 60th BioNest incubator. So that's a very strong family network of incubation centers, nurturing innovators, startups across the country for the biotech ecosystem. And this has become a strong spine and a support for our ecosystem. Go to the next slide, please. Each slide would give you a separate glimpse, so there is no continuity though, but this brings a flavor of activities that we've been doing. The Northeast region, we wanted to build the ecosystem in that region, and that we took it up as a dedicated activity. So we facilitated 7 incubation centers in the sister states. We also created a opportunity for funding the young entrepreneurs, and we rolled out a special BIG call only for the Northeast region. We also created a facilitation to promote entrepreneurship through the BIRAC's regional center. So a dedicated regional center has also been given, which is BRTC for the region. And we will see in next couple of years, this will start panning out and yielding results too. Go to the next slide. Like regional centers, we are not forgetting while scaling the innovation ecosystem, we must be conscious so that these technologies reach to the last mile. Last mile, the low resource setting where these technology adoption can happen and help the society and help societal unmet needs. Next slide, please. So Jan Care Challenge was launched specifically for this purpose. We have been also bring on board the Global Bio India 2021. We just concluded in 3rd of March this 3 days activity, which was represented by more than 8,000 delegates from not only from India but 42 countries. So we've been while we were sending people out, the entrepreneurs and startups. Through this, we've been able to bring people to India, though virtually, but to showcase what the India's growing biotech ecosystem has to offer and how biosciences can actually contribute to bioeconomy, transforming lives not only for Indian citizens, but for the world as well. A lot of critical reports were also rolled out. So we've also been expanding our partnership network across the globe. So some representative partners we have put up on this slide. So these are newer opportunities for scaling of innovation outside India is happening. And we are also able to bring technology adoption and technology sharing as well as investments into the country through such engagements. Next slide, please. Now, people say proof of pudding is in eating. So here's a live example. All the talks that we do, that these many number of startups have been supported and scaled. This particular dedicated e-portal reflects 150 plus technologies which has actually gone in market from all the wonderful startups and the entrepreneurs that has been supported through BIRAC's network. So this website was launched in 2019 by Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal ji. Now it showcases 150, and these numbers are on the rise and they are growing. So one can look at and reach out to these startups not only from India but outside India as well. Next slide, please. We want our growing ecosystem of innovators now to scale. And to scale, we will be layering up the incubator network with technology clusters that would provide the next layer of facilitation as common, affordable, accessible, common facilities, which would be laden with high-end capex items for POC to pilot and from pilot to early stage of manufacturing. This is what technology cluster is all about, which would help our ecosystem to grow towards 100 billion biomanufacturing hub. And imagine 10 such clusters like what AMTZ and NBRIC as a pilot initiative has brought on board. If we put it at subsector level all across the country, it will really spurn up and accelerate into, as Mr. Bauri says, exponential trajectory for our innovation ecosystem. Go ahead, next slide, please. So we're looking at 10,000 startups in next by 24-25, and this is a portrayal of what we've been going to target as the scaling of the biotech ecosystem, spreading, expanding the network of incubation centers, building technology clusters, so that the startups as well as the innovative products that they support, they come into being and they promote and support the societal and address the societal unmet need. I would stop here and stop sharing the screen as well. And I would like to now move into the panel discussion. And may I request all my wonderful 4 panelists, if they can turn on their videos so that we can introduce them one by one. Yeah. So with me today have 4 exemplar representations from the startup ecosystem, all the things that we just saw. So here's a glimpse how the startup ecosystem have been growing. So with me, I have Rachna from MicroGo, Renuka from BioPrime, Arun from Hanugen, and Chandrasekhar from the MallBio or Big Tech. So maybe what I'll do in next half an hour, provide a glimpse through our panelists to the listeners that what have been, how their companies have been evolving and how they are addressing the societal unmet need through their product portfolio in the from the startup efforts that you've been putting up. So may I request Rachna, if you would like to go first and help us understand what products you have created through MicroGo and how they are addressing the unmet need for society.
Sure.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Devan. So we started in 2016, and I mean, it looks very like that we forecasted this, but our entire reason of starting MicroGo was global travel, infectious diseases, and climate change. We thought that we need a serious intervention, especially common touch points and places like these, which was something that we were looking forward. When we started the company, yes, infection control was our prime focus, but within 1.5 years, we realized that itself will not be enough. Since infection control or anything related to hygiene is primarily considered as an expense, ye kharcha hai, right? So we started integrating a very serious component of saving resources or increase cash flow. So while the customer buys our product, it actually also increases a significant cash flow in their entire SOP. And third, even the customer is spending money, but they are not able to understand whether the money has been put to right use. And that's where that was a serious problem of compliance. So we brought in the IoT feature, and now we have this beautiful triangle where we save lives by infection prevention, we bring in sustainability, increase cash flow, and we bring IoT and complete the triangle. Having said that, one of our products is called Go Pure. It is targeted against water treatment, and right from the raw water to the treated water, everything is calculated, accordingly dosed, and so that everything is in the limit, the dosing, the disinfection, the the residual limits of the oxidant, and at the same time, the TRO or the waste, it is zero chemical waste. So the customer doesn't have to waste a lot of money in, doing the entire process. Similarly, we have another product called Go Assure, which is India's first and only smart hand hygiene station, which not only provides good hand hygiene practices according to WHO, at the same time ensure sustainability by saving water, again, lots of direct and indirect costs, and at the same time is IoT enabled for real-time SOP management. So this is in brief what we do. We are also in the food sector, but I thought maybe I'll stop here. Yeah.
Thank you, Rachna. So how large is your team currently?
We are 22. We are 22 on site, and now we have, while in the last year, we have already have 16 service partners, because we focus on a lot of instruments. So service is something that we are equally vested, because you can't provide a unit, a machine, without thinking about the service support. So we first establish a service support and then start shipping out the machines. So, but they are not in our control, but we are in a constant communication, and they help us basically.
And if you could remind us, when were you incorporated? MicroGo was incorporated.
2016.
All right, great. Thank you, Rachna. I move to our next lady panelist, Renuka. Would you help us understand what does BioPrime do? and how is it bringing new innovations into life to address the societal unmet needs? Over to you, Renuka.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to wish BIRAC a very happy Foundation Day. And thank you for the opportunity to share our journey so far. So, BioPrime is a ag biotech startup. It was founded with the vision of bringing back pride and profits to the farmers. So, we develop biologicals which build climate resilience in crops using targeted physiology modulating biomolecules. So essentially, we give biomolecules which modulate certain responses in plants and help them become climate resilient. Almost 70% of agriculture today, not just in India, but globally, is affected by climate change, whether it is untimely rains, fluctuating temperature conditions. And the worst part here in India is that the smallholder farmers or marginal farmers are impacted the largest. So we set out to develop products which could be A, crop agnostic, be compatible with all current agronomic practices, because then otherwise it becomes very difficult for the farmers to adopt it. And second, and the last point was develop something which was affordable for them. So if they are spending 1 rupee on us, they should be able to get an incremental increase in their yields. So though yield increase is one of the parameters, one of the most important things that our biologicals do is give assured yields to the farmers. So mitigating and protecting the farmers' yield against climate change is one of our main focus areas. Today, for a farmer, a good yield is a gamble rather than an assurance. And that is something that we want to change. So we have 5 products which are in liquid foliar forms as well as granule forms. So compatible with field crops, orchards, vegetables, or even export-oriented farmers. We've recently launched in 9 states and are working with a lot of farmers across different agroclimatic zones. And through this entire journey, BIRAC has been the thread that has supported us at each stage, right from POC to right now at validation stage. So that is a little bit about BioPrime.
Thank you, Renuka. And just help us remind when the BioPrime was incorporated and what is the team strength you have right now?
Sure. So we were also incorporated in 2016. Currently, we have 25 people who work with us in various departments such as research, production, agronomy, as well as marketing.
And you operate from which region and impact which all regions?
So we are based out of Pune, Maharashtra, and we work with farmers in Maharashtra that's mostly centered around Western Maharashtra, UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, and Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, parts of Gujarat and Karnataka is where we're working currently.
All right. So you've been traveling a lot, or it's just that you're trying to cover virtually things? How does that happen?
I wish agriculture could be done virtually, but no, we're traveling a lot, and we love spending time with farmers because it helps us understand whether our concept or our notion is doing what the farmer deserves. Perceptions of farmers here in Maharashtra are very different from perceptions of, let's say, a farmer in UP. So it's required to be on ground.
Right. I'll come back to you. I move to Arun now. Arun is trying to build an first-in-class new therapeutic model for a very difficult area. Arun, we would love to hear from you how Hanujan has been doing and what kind of activity, what target sector it is addressing at present. Could you help us understand a little bit more about your startup, please?
Thank you, Dr. Manish. First of all, I would like to wish Happy BIRAC Foundation Day to everybody. And Hanujan was basically incorporated in 2017, although the idea behind this was to come out with an affordable and accessible product for rare diseases. We started with Duchenne muscular dystrophy because the efforts for this, we started as an NGO in 2012. That time when I started the work from scratch, I had never imagined that I would be opening a startup. But with the support of BIRAC and CCamp as our co-founders, it really motivated us to speed up things and take it to a level where right now we are ready for clinical trials, and we also have a GMP manufacturing facility which is going to take these trials soon. Coming to the technology, we use something called antisense oligonucleotides. We are using this oligonucleotides as a personalized medicine for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Currently, we are the only company doing it in India. So because there was an unmet need and nobody was doing it, a group of parents motivated to start this effort. But now with the support of BIRAC and other stakeholders, we are able to take it to the next level. Currently, we have around 3 products which are ready for clinical trial. That is for Duchenne muscular dystrophy and spinal muscular atrophy. The file is in DCGI. We have approved the DMD product for clinical trial from DCGI, whereas the SMA application is under SEC review. Apart from that, we also have leveraged this whole technology to cater to researchers and provide the services for large-scale oligo manufacturing to different countries right now. I'm very happy that BIRAC has actually supported us from the beginning, and we were able to come to this stage because of this.
What inspired you, if I may ask, Arun, to work in a very niche area, a neglected, like a very niche area and difficult area too? ODNs, first in class. It's challenging from all possible corners.
So I was working in Orchid Chemicals and Pharmaceuticals as a cell biologist, and that's when I was trying to go abroad for a postdoc. And then a group of parents, they came and approached me. I was waiting for my viva, so I thought, okay, let me just set up a lab and give it to them. But once I started reading about the subject, and I found that there was no pharma company working on it, or no university or research institute working, it actually intrigued me that why people are not doing something for rare diseases. And the parent support from this patients group was very good, that they sent me abroad to Australia to get trained in this technology. And there also the scientists said, I've been doing it for last 35 years, but I couldn't get it to the market. I sold it to a pharma. How can you do it in India? But I said, no, you don't know. In India, we have something called Jugaad, and we will do anything in any way to get things done.
I'll come back to you on this, and we'll love to hear more about that. I would now like to move to Chandrasekhar, who's been there, in the ecosystem, a fairly long standing, like a pillar, and that pillar is now yielding, and the fruits are now bearing. So Chandrasekhar, would you like to help us understand how's your startup has evolved, and what kind of product portfolio are now available on the table from your startup? It's now SME now. If you can turn on your microphone, that would be great. I can't hear you.
By the
Yes.
So I was muted by the organizer. Okay. Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to talk on BIRAC's Foundation Day. I think this is a very proud day for us. Today, innovation in this country is really gone to a very, very different level from when we started in the year 2000. And when we started, our idea was to take the PCR to point of care. And if you just think back to the year 2000, it was sheer madness, I guess. But we wanted to have a PCR device that could detect infectious diseases or diagnose infectious diseases without any access to infrastructure, without access to training, cold chain, and at an affordable cost. It took us 4 or 5 years to build our first prototype, and we got support from Nimitli to refine that prototype. And about 5 years later, I think we were one of the early recipients of BIPP's support for validation of our platform for multiple pathogens. And then we enjoyed ICMR support for validation for initially for H1N1 and then for TB. And today we have a WHO approved point of care platform for tuberculosis, and many other diseases diagnosis are in the pipeline for WHO approval. We have the POC platform called TrueNat in two parts. One is the sample prep part, which is a nanomaterials based platform, uses a combination of mesofluidics and nanomaterials. And one is the PCR platform, which is a very rapid thermal cycler based on low temperature co-fired ceramics. We have patents around the globe for this in more than 100 countries. We went a little berserk based on our earlier experiences with freedom to operate, and of course, paid a price for that in terms of maintaining this across all of these geographies. But today we have more than 4,000 devices deployed across the country. We are supplying to the national program for TB, and those devices were repositioned for COVID detection. We will end the year supplying about 12 million tests between COVID and TB. And we're scaling up. We're scaling up very aggressively at the AMTZ and at our facilities in Goa, where next year we expect to have a capacity of 100 million tests. So we also have a presence in 31 countries, but we've not been able to export because of the export restrictions currently. And this is where we are, and I'll stop here talking.
Maybe, Chandrasekhar, a little bit more on that. So moving from, let's say, 12 million tests to 100 million tests in some time, and you have already been able to access 31 countries, as you said. So do you, like, you started your journey back in 2000, and the ecosystem over a period of time has a little bit evolved, right? As you could see. And maybe, all right. So what things that you think have evolved to the benefit of startup entrepreneurs to this extent, if they seed now, or let's say 2016, as everybody else is saying, how long they will take actually to reach out to a scale what you are talking about? And if you can also identify, based on your experience, challenges that you faced, do they still exist, or there are newer set of challenges that you would like to advise from your experiences, that if those can be circumvented, the journey for the other startups can actually be accelerated?
So we spent the first 5 years trying to find some support to help us develop this platform. And it was in 2005 that we got, end of 2005, that we got Dimitri support. Most things that I used to hear at that time was, you're a private company, how can I support you? But that system has changed so dramatically. And today, innovation support is not a limitation. What I think is a limitation is scaling and manufacturing technologies, assembly technologies. I don't think that our ecosystem today has evolved to kind of take technology and scale to exponential growth levels that we are talking about. If you want to make national impact, if you want to make international impact, our manufacturing technology segment has to grow very dramatically. And I think we seriously lack some kind of concerted, organized efforts in assembly technologies. That, I think, is one thing that is missing. The other thing that is missing, which I'm sure will be addressed with time as more companies and more technology scale, is regulation and support. See, today, I think, led by BIRAC, this country has created for COVID a tremendous ecosystem for diagnosis. But the diagnostic companies are now being hit by a double whammy. One is by arbitrary price reductions. That price reduction is not coming from scaling internally in this country. It is coming because we are able to leverage external manufacturing systems at this point in time at a low cost. So if that pipeline is shut, your costs have absolutely no basis to sustain. The other is this limitation in terms of export. You cannot export based on applications and licenses, and it takes many weeks, especially in a pandemic-like situation. I have distributors in 30 countries who are not able to access our technology at all. And I completely agree that India is our first priority. And if there is spare capacity, it should be possible for the industry to export. So these are things, these are small irritants, these are things that will change as there are more and more solutions, more and more products that go out there. All of this is a question of evolution, and that evolution will happen. I'm very hopeful that that will happen.
I think these are valid points, and from on the ground points, which actually being faced by a startup or a medium scale company like yours. When you want to scale, we have taken cognizance of this. Let me also ask here, maybe Renuka. Renuka, you mentioned that your product line is actually reaching out to the farmers. So could you help us understand what challenges or opportunities or strengths that you could see in the agtech domain when you are working in this area? Are farmers forthcoming to adopt or listen to you new technology, or you see any mindset block there? Are there any, just like Chandrasekhar mentioned, that for exports there is a hurdle, there is a regulatory, a policy level hurdle. For farmers, do you see something like that? Can you also think that doubling farmers' income is possible through such technology adoptions?
Yes. Primarily, one of the main hurdles, like you rightly pointed out, sir, was change in farmers' perception. So farmers are very reluctant to adopt a newer technology. Any change in farmer behavior or getting the farmer to change any of his current practices is a very difficult job, and it's a high touch point extension work that is required. So we've had to set up demonstrations in any new market that we've gone. And by market, I mean like a very small locality where people can connect and see the validation of the technology. The moment we want to move out of that market, we have to repeat the same process again. So that has been a hurdle for us. And largely it has come, the perception of the farmers around this has come because of the existing products that have not delivered according to the farmer's expectation. So they've been duped quite often, especially in the name of organic, and hence, rightly so, they are very concerned about trying newer products without having some trust factor. So for us, one of the main challenges was an industry connect. So having an industry partner who could help us take these products to the market. So as technocrats, it's a very different ball game as to making a product, developing a product, and in agri distributing the product. The agri value chain, agri distribution is very different from any other distribution chain. There are long credit cycles, very low possibilities of money coming back. So your money tends to get stuck into the market. So these are some, I would say, real world challenges. And an industry partner or a business partner in these aspects helps. It has helped us in two ways. One is there's already underlying trust with the existing agri or industry partner. So there's a brand worth that comes along with it, and therefore then the farmers become, ready to
try the products and see the results for themselves. So it's a win-win for the startup as well as the industry. So the industry gets newer products or newer technologies that they can take to the market, and the startups then leverage from the brand or the pre-established trust that that the farmers have with the existing brands. In terms of challenges for scaling up, I would definitely say that we do require some kind of manufacturing hubs or small scaling hubs that are there, because like Chandrasekhar was saying, it's difficult to validate the technology or the robustness of the technology to see if scaling is possible. So I think, like you were rightly mentioning, if we have these small clusters, it would be a game changer for biotech per se.
All right. Thank you, Renuka. Let me ask question to Arun now. Arun, the first-in-class discovery is always challenging, and doing it from a startup perspective, and be it a large industry, it's always challenging by and large. So when you are doing it from a startup perspective, as a one single company, which have not many products in your basket, could you also help us understand what challenges you see in your area compared to, let's say, if you were a large company, have a separate R&D center and then running it? Anything that from a startup perspective and from enabler perspective that we can and connect somewhere and understand your journey story, as well as if you can point out one or two direct specific examples that these are the things which might be helpful in order to scale. Over to you.
Thank you. So first of all, being a startup, dreaming of doing a drug discovery in India was not a good idea. I had been advised at every step saying that this is not your game. But the motivation was so, the force was so strong that we got a lot of help and mentorship from BIRAC with respect to regulatory thing. We did not cut corners in doing any of these experiments or studies required. But now the future challenge what I face is that being a startup, scaling up is going to be an issue for me. I will need support. Right now, I import almost most of the materials from abroad and then make it in India. Probably with this venture, what we have done is that we have got the cost down from $300,000 per year per child, whereas our product is priced to $30,000. So that is a good price reduction, but still it is not an affordable when it comes to a poor Indian patient. So probably if we get some kind of help or partnerships with scaling these products, and also the main thing is that there is a lack of motivational incentives for this kind of rare diseases, like regarding a rare disease policy or what kind of implementation people can get, or some inputs. What we need is that if government also helps startups like this, I am sure this can be taken up as a product which could be commercialized in the future. Like we have a lot of patients in the country. Currently, with my existing startup, I will be able to cater to 500 patients a year, but that will be good enough only for conducting clinical trials. But tomorrow, once the trials is finished and the product is approved, there are lakhs of patients waiting, and there are many other diseases for which we could use the same technology. And before it becomes obsolete, we need to get the product out so that pipeline can be processed. Otherwise, I'll be stuck with one product and then keep waiting for the funding. So a lot of help is needed, a lot of mentorship is needed. I believe that the ecosystem can be more favorable.
Certainly. I think whether we know it or not, there are many people looking at India as a innovation hub, and they are observing the growth stories of all of you and the rest of the startups in the ecosystem. So they are silently observing, and they are also observing how your success and you're progressing forward. So I think it's a transition stage. I don't want to sound too optimistic, like but it's something happening which we could see from the rear side. But I think let me touch base with Rachna, whom who is representing one of the women founders, entrepreneurs in a women biotech park, water queen, sanitization queen. Help us understand, Rachna, how's been your challenges being let's give it a flip of women entrepreneur for a second. Help us understand some challenges that being a woman founder, what challenges you are feeling, and would you like to relate to the other founders, maybe who are facing similar challenges or opportunities or strength in the area that you can envisage? You can exemplify using MicroGo, certainly.
Sure. Yes, we are based out of Golden Jubilee Biotech Park, which I believe is India's first set up park exclusively for women founders. I don't know, for me, being woman has helped much because, like, say, if I and my sales guy, we both go together for a sales pitch, it becomes very easier for the client to say, ki, Madam, kal aayega. I have found it much more positive, and if you are a woman and you are making sense, it actually, the time to reach to the customer becomes much, much more faster compared to, my my men counterpart. But otherwise, beyond that, frankly, Manish, I have not faced any difficulties just being a woman. Biotech Park, fortunately, actually gives us quite a bit of that sort of ecosystem as well, that, the people, the women folk, especially in our production team, when they come in, they feel very secured. That part has been taken care because we are based in that ecosystem. But otherwise, just that part has not been absolutely a problem for us. The challenges are different. As I said, my all challenges always resonates with the customer. I somehow only think and understand that and nothing else. So our challenge has been, because the problem area that we focus is bacteria, viruses and stuff, and that is an invisible to naked eye. And making them understand that, boss, that is the problem. You have to understand that and take preventive actions against that. That is the challenge. And that is why we have adopted something called show and tell. You have something, we show them, and all our products actually each time show and tell them, so that they realize that, acha, there is a problem and this is the solution, and how this solution is going to help my solution. So that's the challenges. And yes, of course, one of the other challenge, like last year, and it was important to mention, especially at BIRAC's Foundation Day, like the first installation that we did during COVID was on 11th January 2019 at the Chennai International Airport, and we had only three product prototypes that day. And when I went and met to the airport director, and he didn't realize that this was something that that will require, and when I pitched him, and he said, okay, madam, kal leke aaji, I'll require 3. Now I had only that 3. We have absolutely nothing. And this year 2020 was when we had promised ourselves that we are going to break even. So we are not going to raise any funds, nothing. We are just trying to break even month on month. And COVID-19 came in, and we had absolutely no cash reserve for scaling up. We had nothing, like 3 machines, that's it. And once we did it in Chennai, next day we got from Bhopal, Hyderabad, Indore, Calcutta, Delhi, Hyderabad, like, we want to replicate the entire SOP that you have created with this airport. And we had no money. And that's where the funding that initially came by IKP ICO fund, and then BIRAC COVID fund came in. And that helped us to scale. We had the team with, that spirit of, we are going to do it, and we are going to, serve the nation. And this is a great opportunity for which we actually exist as MicroGo. And of course, the funding to rapidly scale up helped in. And I'm really grateful for, this funding support that actually helped us to contribute to the nation. So, yeah.
Thank you. I think all the good work that all of you have done must have got recognized. And as I said before, people have been watching. I think Rachna had the August chance to actually interact with our Honorable Prime Minister also. And likewise, I think Chandrasekhar have been dispensing diagnostic kits being utilized for testing positive, negative subjects and patients, touching farmers' life by Renuka's, Renuka's solution, and Arun bringing a hope of life for the rarest of diseases to the patients, subjects, and families, in fact, which otherwise get neglected. So a lot of good work being done by all of you. If I may take 30 seconds each, and let us know in next 5 years, how do you want to position yourself? Then we will look forward for closing this session. Over to you, Chandrasekhar. I'll give you the first chance. Go ahead, please.
So 5 years is a long time, but we hope to have our point of care PCR solutions for more than 100 different indications, mostly neglected tropical diseases available around the world. So I don't want to put a number to that yet. So.
All right. So 2025, we will see you. Arun, what about you?
Well, by 2025, I believe that my product should be in every TMD patient's lives, and also I should come out with a permanent solution for this, because giving once a week injection is not very good for these children. I hope that I get more motivation and funding, that I come out with a one-time solution for this.
Fantastic. Renuka.
I hope by that time we would have realized some portion of Honorable Prime Minister's dream of doubling farmers' income and reducing the crop loss percentage. We're developing newer technologies, so I think by 2025 we would see at least 5 new products launched. Right now we're working at field level. In the next step, we would be working with seed companies to start climate resilience right from the seed before it hits the soil. So that's us in 2025.
Great. Rachna, how do you see 5 years?
Yeah, Chandrasekhar sir says, right, 5 years is a long time, but we envisage end-to-end disinfection, sanitization, decontamination, sterilization, food, water, health. We should be the go-to person if our customers, have any issues, and create an SOP, because we believe if you have created a product which goes inside the SOP, it takes time, but it is very difficult to replace. With our digital platform, end-to-end, the customer can see on his screen exactly at which place what is happening. End-to-end, like he doesn't have to go out anywhere but microwave. So I guess that's the vision that we have, and we'll really work hard towards that. And of course, we have the support of this fantastic ecosystem that BIRAC and the partners are providing us. So yeah, much needed. Thank you.
Thank you. I think your success is success of the ecosystem, and we take pride in doing so and recognize that. Thank you so much, and I wish all of you all the success that you're thinking for the next 5 years. And like you will inspire, and you are exemplifying some of the ecosystem and the starting societal limit needs. Thank you so much. I'm been told that kindly stay back, all the panelists. I would hand it over back to the for the next proceeding. Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much, Manish, and thank you to all the panelists for the wonderful discussion. The success stories were absolutely inspiring, and it was even more heartwarming to see the grit and determination with which address the societal unmet needs. With this, like we requested you, please stay along for some time more, group picture at the end. And I would now request Dr. Shishindra Mukherjee, Mission Director, Grand Challenges India, to please propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Hafsa, and what a lovely day to celebrate our 9th birthday and moving into the 10th year, which has been really an exponential growth in a milestone, as said by our foundation in our Foundation Day lecture. So it gives me immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks on our 9th Foundation Day. As we begin our journey to the 10th year, which will also coincide with the 75th year of our independence, it will be a very important milestone in our exponential growth. We will strongly walk along this line and strongly move along. The word coined in our earlier, one of our mottos was Vigyan Se Vikas, and Vigyan Se Vikas will club along with Atmanirbhar Bharat to move ahead. This would have not been possible, this exciting journey for the last 9 years would not have been possible with the leadership provided by the founders of BIRAC and the Department of Biotechnology led by Dr. Swaroop, our Department of Biotechnology and Chairperson of BIRAC. Madam, your mentorship and guidance is very critical and immense importance for all of us in BIRAC and all our stakeholders. And you have given us a strong to empower and enable us to move forward, and your presence today was of great importance and immense satisfaction for all of us. Anju Bhalla, Joint Secretary, DST, and MD BIRAC for the continued support and the leadership provided by ma'am, especially in these challenging times. And you have steered us very efficiently with your constant support and encouragement. Thanks, ma'am, for your presence and your handholding to all of us. To Mr. Vinod Bauri for giving us an enlightening Foundation Day lecture. We would have loved to have you physically here, but the idea you gave on creation of wealth and exponential growth, I think, which we need right now to move ahead and steer our next journey for the next decade. To all our panelists, Arun, Chandra, Rachna, and Renuka, for sharing your exciting journeys, which is really, very, very enriching, enlightening, and learning experience for all of us and all our stakeholders to move us to the next level. It was a very inspiring journey. Thanks to the comms team of BIRAC for preparing the slide deck show, especially to Gini, Supreet, Mayank in the IT team, the IT team at BIRAC, Amar, Vipul for leading it, to all my colleagues in BIRAC who have been really the backbone of today's event, giving their inputs, support to us, and maybe moving it forward to all our stakeholders, to all our esteemed mentors who have been really handing hold, without which we would have not come this long journey. Hopefully we'll meet in our innovators meet physically, then in Global Bio early next year, and then in our 10th birthday celebration, 20th March 2022, we'll all meet together. We wish you all to stay safe and lead a healthy life till we meet again. As Hafsa said, we should all switch on our videos for a group photograph. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We don't have Mr. Bauri, we have all the others.
Ma'am, he's there online, ma'am.
Sir, would you like to turn on your video, please, Mr. Bauri? Yeah, there you go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on our Foundation Day celebrations. Wishing you all a very happy Foundation Day and a very happy weekend ahead. Thank you. Signing off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hafsa.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Very well done, Hafsa. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Hafsa. Thank you.